With the NBA playoffs in full swing, there have been quite a few developing storylines that have caused room for debate, disagreements, and the occasional Joe Callahan ice-cold take. Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm your host, Grant Sheets, joined alongside Joe Callahan Jr. and Cheranda Hammond. Many folks have been cutting a lot of slack for some players that have had some disappointing starts to this postseason. So, are there any players that you guys believe that should be put in or thrown out of the spotlight of shame?
Well, Grant. I'm a little bit burnt from the weekend, or the last week, from the absolute flame out of Kevin Durant, and I'm loving it. Let's put it into the context of last year, right? Willed his team almost to the finals last year with a hobbled James Harden, Blake Griffin in the starting lineup, Joe Harris on a shooting slump, and Kyrie sitting at home doing God knows what, or whatever he believes in. So you come into this season with a better roster, not facing the defending champs. Everybody, Boston's a great team. And what is happening? Let me just read this right quick. Let me just pull out this stat sheet real quick. 0 for 10 in the second half of Game 2. 19 of 52 from the field going into Game 4. Ladies and gentlemen, his impact is completely nothing. Literally zero. And I'm all for it, man. Get out of here with that. He is abysmal, right? And I'm loving it because I'm ready for him to come at me with his burner accounts. I'm raring for it. And I'm ready for whatever he has to throw at me because he's throwing nothing in the bucket.
I say for me, I'm definitely going to have to go with Nikola Jokic. I say it just seems like he's been underperforming. He's in the MVP running, and he was on the verge of getting swept by the Splash Brothers and Jordan Poole. Just seemed very disappointing for me. The first two games, he had a field goal percentage shooting under 50%. And then the last two games, I believe it was 63.6%. And then I just think he has a hard time getting his team to rally behind him. I say they did win on Sunday, but I think it was only by like 5 points. I'm just expecting more from someone who's in the MVP running.
I'm halfway on board with you guys. These are two of some of the greatest players in the world. But you're right. If you don't perform in prime time, then you're not getting your money. But on the point of some disappointing players so far this postseason, there's a few teams on the verge of getting bounced in this first round of the playoffs, despite having really strong 2022 campaigns. So if these teams do get bounced, what teams do you think are on the verge of some major changes this offseason?
I say for me, I'm going to have to go with the Nets. I think Katie and Kyrie, they're two superstars with rings, and I think right now it's just proving that they cannot do it without another superstar, which is kind of odd because, they're both superstars. I just think it's hard. I don't think necessarily they need to make a ton of changes, but getting Ben Simmons back is going to be the key for the Nets. He hasn't played in a year, but I do feel like he's going to make a really big impact once he comes back.
You already know what I feel about the Nets. Kyrie coming back from last season on his couch. KD already went into him. And imagine a guy that's literally trying to get money from another team being your saving grace. But you want to know what else is a saving grace? A guy who averages more passes to the other team than his co-star. The Utah Jazz are a mess, and they've been it for a long time. Rudy Gobert, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate every single year, is reduced to a joke on offense. He sits in the paint the entire time. Donovan Mitchell doesn't pass him the ball. Do you know how disrespectful you have to be to somebody to straight up average more passes to the other team? It's abysmal. The team is built around Donovan Mitchell, and he doesn't even like his co-star. That's a problem. And right now, Donovan Mitchell, perennial MVP candidate if you get somebody next to him. This guy is a baller, and he has never been put with somebody that he actually likes. Don't even get me started on the COVID thing when let me jiggle with the mic. Sure. And then now he just sits in the paint, gets blocks, and let's give him a Defensive Player of the Year award. The most overrated player in the league. And they need to blow literally everything up, or Donovan Mitchell is gone.
I feel like at the end of every regular season, we're talking about the Jazz as a main contender, but here we are again. They're on the verge of losing in this first round. And then with you, Cheranda, about the Nets, that's a big if with Ben Simmons. So we'll see what happens with these teams, these players, and all the rest of the teams throughout this NBA postseason. But on that note, that's all for today's NBA segment here on Penn State Sports Night. For Joe Callahan Jr. and Cheranda Hammond, I'm Grant Sheets.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. We hope you liked that segment.
And we're sure there's other Penn State Sports Night segments that you're going to love as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.
And check us out on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes clips and pics. Follow us on Twitter at PSSN and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action.
For all of us here at the Belisari Media Center, we are
Penn State Sports Night.